Welcome to the Click podcast. I'm Danny Watson, a mindset and manifestation expert and founder of The Click, a company that helps women overcome their fears and limiting beliefs to create a life and business that they love. Within this podcast, I will help you get clear on what you want, identify the blocks that are holding you back, transform your mindset and raise your vibration so that you can co-create magic with the universe. If you are looking to design a life that truly sets your soul on fire and manifest more success and abundance, then you are in the right place. Hello ladies, and welcome to this week's episode. And I am so excited to have with me Jessica Paul, who is a mindset and manifestation coach. She is one of our Click Academy graduates, and I'm so excited, Jessica, to really dive into what's happened for you over the past 12 months, because wowzers, you seem to be doing so many amazing, incredible things with your business, and just to see how things have really taken off for you in a big way has been absolutely amazing. So yeah, thanks so much for being here and chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me, Danny. It's really lovely to be asked, because obviously you were such a big factor in my journey. So
yeah, no, and I can't wait to kind of go back to the beginning. In fact, actually, there was a post I will always remember. It was at the beginning of this year that you shared it, and you were celebrating in our Academy Facebook group your 30K launch. Yeah. And it had only been sort of, I think, like a month or so beforehand that we had been chatting on one of the mindset calls, and just kind of seeing like where you were and kind of then where you got to in that such short space of time was phenomenal. But taking it even further back from that, like you spoke about, just crying as before you kind of stepped into this. So could you share a little bit what your journey has been like? Let's start at the beginning.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so the very beginning. Well, the very start of things for me, I was not in a great place in myself. Only a few years ago, to be honest. I had been on a journey of kind of like self-discovery for a bit, and my catalyst really to like dive into this work, because I actually did a different course as a life coach, but again, like I was full of like imposter syndrome and everything, and I just couldn't seem to get things going with anything I was doing. But also I'm an actress as well, which of course in my story, and again, as an actor, you face a lot of rejection, and I just was in a really rough place. But the thing, my catalyst really that got me to invest in this and start the process properly in myself was when my ex-boyfriend left. And honestly, it was such a hard time for me, because it really was just myself having to understand that I had to do it on my own. And for years, like I'd kind of relied on him. So anyway, that was when I was going through my worst. But then the start of this journey, I kind of feel like it was divine timing, again, coming across your Facebook ad for your academy, because, I was at a point in my spiritual journey where I was like, okay, I want more. And also in a business sense too. And when I put the money down for your course, like that was the biggest I'd ever invested in myself. And now, I'm getting people invest the same amount into me, because that's just testament to the journey that you go on. And if you do invest in yourself and the knowledge that you gain and everything. But for me, that was freaking scary. But I do vividly remember though, another post that I put in the group where I put the money down, and within 2 days I'd made it all back. And again, that's literally what I now teach within money mindset. I would never have learned that myself if I hadn't gone for it myself. And then of course the quantum leap, it really is a quantum leap, and you don't know what a quantum leap is until you've leaped. You don't know you're going through it until you look back and you go, oh my God, only a few months ago I was a completely different person. And again, that's because I live by and I teach energy in action. And I think one of the biggest things for me is that I take the action, and I'm really, healing that healing that masculine energy within you is so important as well, because you know, it's part of the process. And I basically just put everything into it. I put everything into it. Of course you do when you invest that much into yourself. And I went on a massive journey, and of course this was over lockdown. So a lot of people were feeling a bit lost, and so was I. I'd just been broken up with. The whole world had completely started collapsing, and I was like, geez, I've got nothing to lose. So I kind of put my blinkers on, and you know, my parents will remember, because I had to move back in with my parents, because that's how little money I had as an out of work actress before. So I was living with my parents, and they just remember me every single day. I was, you know, doing my rituals. I was creating the business. I was just in it. I was just in the flow every single day. And I got it to this point, and you know, got my first client very, very quickly. I coach a lot of creatives, being one myself. And of course, the call that we had together, when I kind of said, you know what, I'm ready to take it one step further, you know, I'm ready to level up again. And you were kind of saying, you know, well, the next point in your business is scaling it up, and you know, creating some sort of academy, creating some sort of group space like that. And I was like, right, okay, let's do it. And had no idea what I was freaking doing, you know, in terms of like how it was going to work. But again, just listened to my intuition on it, and had a 30K launch.
That's absolutely phenomenal. That's absolutely. And how was it when you kind of got to the end of the month and you were kind of looking at what you'd received that month, the income you'd received from your business, and the clients that had signed up to work with you, and that opportunity that you've got to serve those clients? Like, how did it feel in that moment?
I mean, it was incredible. You know, I really vividly remember talking about manifestation as a process to my dad. And, you know, my dad, I think he does get it, but I think he's just not as open as, you know, the way that we talk about it in our industry. And he kind of laughed a little bit and was like, you sure? And I remember having this conversation years ago with him. And when I got that first client, and the first client I ever got, I made £1,000. Now, to some people and to some coaches that are in different journeys, that might seem like not a lot of money. But for me, as an out of work actress who literally had nothing in the bank account, that was massive. And I remember buying my dad a bottle of wine and, you know, putting it on his desk and being like, told you I could do it. And it's just so funny thinking back to that time to see the leap. And then I remember when I was viewing houses. So, okay, so this is another big thing in my journey, was that I got to a point where I can actually freaking afford to buy a house. You know, in my 20s now, as I say, having no money only a few years ago, to now being like, I can afford this. And I actually went to go and view one with my dad, because I just wanted his opinion.
Yeah.
And I remember this guy, sorry, I'm like going off on a tangent here. But
no, go for it. Go for it.
I remember the guy that was showing us around the house, and he was a lovely guy, but he did make a comment, and he went, oh, because we wouldn't want it to be too much for daddy, would we? And my dad, because obviously there's me in my, like, you know, in that state of like true empowerment, knowing that it was just ridiculous. But my dad turns around to him and goes, actually, this is her own money, thank you very much. And he was stumped, he didn't know. And that for me was actually a huge thing, because to have his respect in that way, he's seen my journey, he's seen the process. And my dad's a business owner himself, so like he's like, wow, Jess, like this works. And getting to that point where I made that 30K launch, you know, I was, for me, it just felt like, okay, this is, I was always meant to do this. And having the women that were in that group as well, you know, and every single time, because I'm picky about who I coach, which we have to be, because, you know, I want to make sure I can serve people, the right people, and I want to make sure that it's a good environment. And it was just the best. It was just the best space, and it's just continued to be the best space, with women that are all in it together, that are, you know, that are at that point where they're ready to take it to the next level. And I just feel like it was always something I was supposed to do.
I absolutely love that. So what do you think it was, if you kind of look back at like the mindset shifts that you made? Because obviously you spoke about taking action, and that's a big part of, you know, achieving our goals as a coach is the taking action. But, you know, 80%, 90% maybe is what's going on internally. And you've spoken about sort of energy and, you know, mindset, and, you know, you are obviously a mindset and manifestation coach. So what do you think were the key things that helped you to have that 30K launch?
Yeah, it was energy in action. So you know, and tied into that energy is your belief system and changing your thoughts, and reprogramming that side of yourself. But for me, really, energetically, you know, connecting your mind and your body is so important. One of the biggest things for me is intuition. And this is something that I teach every single one of my clients, but it's a process that you have to practice, right? So you've got to practice understanding what your intuition is telling you to do. And it ties so beautifully into so much of what you talk about with the feminine energy, and how you've got to listen to your flow. Because, you know, I've described action. Action for me, this is the reason I've quantum leaped. It's the reason I've got to where I am today, because I've never quit. But the action has always come from an intuitive place.
Yes.
So it's never a case of me, you know, as I said, when I was on that kind of like tunnel vision, I was just working every day. It was never coming from a place of I must work, because it was coming from a place of I want to get out of bed and do this, because this is what I'm meant to be doing. And whenever I have a period of time now in my business or in my life, in my acting career, where I feel like I'm working because I need to be, it never works. So I actually, another big leap for me was actually hiring my assistant, and, you know, actually paying someone a full-time salary to work for me, which is just insane. And she knows me so well now within the way that I live and work, that I could prep a whole launch for something and then literally the week before turn around to her and be like, nah, it's not happening. And she's so used to it now. She's like, okay, Jess, here we go again. But it's because I know when the time is right to do something and to take that action. And that's the difference, right? Between action just as a process and action that's actually going to get you from A to B.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that sort of trying to force things or control things or manipulate the outcome or do what you should do versus just completely trusting yourself. And like you said, like really just going with your intuition. And how do we do that? Because I think often when women step into this world, like we've been so used to sort of conforming and not actually, you know, listening to what our intuition is telling us, like we silence it. So what for you has really helped you really tune into your intuition?
Listening to my body. So actually so your intuition is something that, you know, when people say to you, get out of your head, get out of your head. It's because when we think too much about something, then we end up basically not listening to our intuition. We end up listening to our ego. So getting out of your head and getting into your body is the way that I practice it. So if ever I'm like, oh, okay, and actually one of the questions I ask myself most mornings now is, where do I want to put my energy today? Because, well, with me being a multifaceted woman in the sense that I've got my acting career to think about as well, you know, some days I wake up and be like, oh God, I've got to do that post, or I've got to do that. And then I'll just ask myself, where do I want to be putting my energy today? And then I'll listen to my body and what my body is telling me. Again, that might sound a little bit kind of wishy-washy, but in the moment, if you do just sit there and say, okay, and ask your body rather than your mind, you will always feel that feeling. Because I teach my clients that there is a difference between that kind of unalignment feeling of like that sinking in your belly kind of, oh no, that doesn't feel good. And then that kind of, oh no, actually that more in your chest kind of, this is what I should be doing. This is what I feel like is right now. And just getting to grips with how your body is talking to you makes all the difference.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something I do for myself as well. And the way that I often describe it, it's either like a a constrictive feeling where you feel kind of tight and withdrawn, or it's that expansive feeling. Something though that I often find that people find it a struggle with is the difference between your intuition, but then when fear is present as well. Because sometimes, and I've definitely seen this play out on my journey, where I've been telling myself, convincing myself, okay, well, that doesn't feel good to me, therefore I'm not going to do it. And what I realize is that perhaps it would feel good, but there's this part of me that's so scared of doing it. Therefore, I convince myself, well, this isn't, my intuition's telling me not to. And it's actually not my intuition, it's fear. So how can we tell the difference between that voice of fear and what our actual higher self is saying?
One of the things that I like to think about with this one, trying to distinguish what it is if you can't stop thinking about it, like if it's going in your head loads and loads and loads and loads of times, and it kind of feels a bit like anxiety, that's the fear that's telling you take the leap. Whereas if you don't want to think about it, if you're like, just get that out of my mind, like, oh no, that's the unalignment. That's kind of how I work it anyway, because something keeps coming back to you because it's supposed to.
That's so true. And actually, I think back to when I first kind of thought, okay, I want to start coaching, and I literally, that's all I could think about. And I had so many fears at the time. I was like, no, I just can't possibly ever do it. But every time I would be like reading a personal development book or like listening to a podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I could do this. I could, start this. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It's that, constant thinking about things. And and I think you mentioned earlier about like the universe sending you a sign. Like, I think if you're thinking about something a lot, like, take that as a little nudge from the universe. Talking about sort of signs from the universe, like, how do you know, like, what do you do to kind of see that the universe is giving you a sign? What sort of things do you look out for?
Oh, this is such a great question. And actually, do you know what? Again, this might go slightly off topic, but I just want to mention this because it was mind blowing the other day. I went to go see a psychic medium actually with my mum, and the medium actually said, okay, so my granddad came through, and the medium said, your granddad is going to send you a white feather as your sign to say he is here, he is looking at you. And for my mum, that was very emotional. But we got in that night, and literally we were just sat at the kitchen table, and then my mum goes, right, I'm going to go to bed. And I looked down, and under her chair there was a white feather, and we were just in the kitchen.
Oh my God, I just got goosebumps.
Yeah, and I mean, we were both crying because like, we were in the kitchen. It wasn't like we were outside on the street. Like, it came from seemingly nowhere. But this is, if we're talking about signs, obviously you can have the signs, like, as you said, if you're thinking about it, that's a sign in itself, right? If something keeps popping up for you. For me though, I've got specific signs. Mine are butterflies. And I can tell you a really powerful story as well about actually when I think it was before I even invested in the course with you, but I was kind of going through that period of time, like, what am I going to do? And then I was practicing it. I specifically practiced it. I like lay in bed at night, in the morning, actually. I was lying in bed in the morning, and I said to myself, okay, I want to see butterflies and a white feather as well. And that I then got out of bed, and this is again like practice in manifestation, because I then got out of bed and carried with my day, and I forgot that I was visualizing that in the morning. And then I went outside because it was a sunny day to read my book, and I sat down, and a butterfly landed on my hand.
Oh my God.
Right.
I got goosebumps again.
Yeah. And at the time I thought, oh my God, that's weird. And then it was like, oh my God, like, this is coming from, this is my sign. What's even weirder, and this is just totally bizarre, is I was texting a friend at the time, and I just text saying, oh my God, you won't believe what's happened. And he texts back saying, what, has a butterfly landed on you?
What?
And I was just like, I didn't know what to do with myself. But do you know what then? But that wasn't even the end of it. It landed on me. I looked up, and there was all of them flying around. And
my God.
The day before there was none. It's not even like it was a time in the summer where like there was just loads about. There was none the day before, and the day after there was none. And that for me was my goosebump moment. That was my moment where I fully put my whole faith into this work. That was my moment.
Oh, I love that. And the thing is with something like this, it's so simple, like anybody can do it. I, will always ask for, if I've got a big decision that I want to make, like I will always say, like, universe, give me the sign. And that's the thing, you've got to ask. You've got to ask, the universe to send you something,
Yeah.
if you want to receive that clarification, and then just wait and expect that, the sign that you're meant to receive, you will receive it. And, it's such a simple thing that you can do, but it starts with just asking for what you want.
100%. Yeah. And you know what, as well, it's like, it's the same with kind of, when you decide something, you create it, which is essentially what I'm teaching. You decide, and within the quantum, like, it's already there for you. You just decide it and you create it. And if you are choosing to expect something, if you are expecting it, it will come. It's like, I always use this analogy. I tell my clients to put on the lenses of what they want to bring in. So what lenses are you putting on when you wake up in the morning? What lenses do you put on? And one of the lenses that I have, and my many lenses that I wear, is a big belief that I had to change within me, and that was everybody I meet falls in love with me. So this was the big thing for me, because in my industry and everything, you're meeting so many people, and you're looking through the lens and expecting to see everybody that loves you. That's what you see. And of course, there's going to be people out there that don't. But if you're expecting only to see the people that do, then that's how.
Yes. Yeah. I absolutely love that. And the thing is, like, which I'll ask you in a second, like, how do we do this? Because we're obviously so hardwired to expect the worst. That's how our brains have been, programmed for, hundreds of thousands of years, to constantly be anticipation of the worst things happening. And that's why often when we think about going for, pursuing our dreams, or, taking a leap of faith, often we play in our head all of the things that could possibly go wrong, rather than just expecting everything to just fall into place for you. So how do we get ourselves to that level of expecting things to happen, not hoping or wishing things will work out, but actually expecting them to work out?
Because there's that level of commitment that you need in the beliefs that you're, it's that classic, you can want to believe something about yourself or the world around you, but if you don't actually believe it, it won't make any difference. And honestly, this just comes down to the work you do on your self-worth, because you know that you are pure source energy, that you were born pure light and amazingness and pure empowerment and pure success. If you know that you were born that way, then it is literally just a process of stripping everything back to become that person again. Because if you know innately that you are that person, then you expect it all. And so really, like, as I said before, and as you say, your self-worth and your self-love is the foundation of any kind of success in your life. And we can't see that success without a level of certainty, and you can't have the level of certainty without the level of certainty in who you are.
Yes, absolutely. And this is the thing I find from my experience of doing this work was definitely the most challenging, because we get so attached sometimes to the entities that we're holding on to that don't actually serve us, because they've been so ingrained in us. Like for me, mine was, I'm a hard worker. Like it took so much work for me to strip myself of that identity, because it was my badge of honor. And I think this is often what people don't expect about mindset work, is that it's actually sometimes like, it's almost like a grieving process, like letting go of that version of you that isn't serving you. It's almost like, it can be quite, and this is when you know that you're doing the work properly, is that, sometimes it is going to be tears and it is going to be meltdowns.
You've just hit the nail on the head there. Like that is exactly, for me, my identity that I used to live with was, I have anxiety. I'm an anxious person. And like there's so many people living this way now who I can relate to, right? It's not like I'm sitting here right now being like, I am that bad bitch, but like I never used to be. My identity was always, I'm anxious. I used to keep myself in the background. I remember the very first time that I showed up for a live, and again, it was before I actually invested in your course. I did a live on Facebook because I'd been asked to singing and then talking, answering questions. And so I chose in that moment, because again, if we want to change our identity, the only thing we can do is literally draw a line under the sand and choose the new identity. And that's the embodiment process. And actually, nobody can freaking dispute it. If you show up and you're like, I am a successful life coach, who's going to dispute it? Like, you're not going to see them anyway, because you've only got the lens of everybody loves me. So, you know, so I showed up, I choose to show up, and I did my singing. And then in between, when they were like asking what I did, I said, I'm a successful life coach. I help women. And that was the moment that everything changed for me identity wise. But the weirdest thing, I suppose the hardest thing for people when really, you know, as you said, that the grieving process of this old identity, it's not what strangers will think about you. In fact, it's the easiest thing to go in front of a stranger and be like, this is me, right? Because they don't know anything about you, but it's your friends and your family that have known you for years. And my family, because they only wanted the best for me, some of them did say, you know what, Jess, are you sure about this? And again, we're conditioned to question ourselves, because they wanted to protect me. They thought, you know, are you sure? Like, should you be sharing this much information online? Should you be doing this? And again, you have to have such a level of, this is where you have to tap into that fire in your belly again, and what you know is intuitively right for you, because you will have people questioning your new identity. It's going to happen. And at the end of the day, you're going to be judged either way, you know? So just literally choosing to wake up for me, really, it was that live that I did, but also it was just a simple change in my Instagram bio, like so simple. I just changed my Instagram bio, and suddenly that was me, the new me.
Wow, I love that.
You know, it's simple, but it's difficult when you do have the inevitable judgment of the people that have known you as a different woman for so many years.
Yes. And I think actually from the women that come into the academy, like just obviously connecting with so many of them during the mindset calls, like the thing that typically came up time and time again was this fear of being judged, not by the people that didn't know them, but like you say, like by friends and family. And, you know, it's one thing to say, oh, we'll just, you know, don't care what other people think, but ultimately we do care, because we're tribal in nature. We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. We want that approval and validation. And it's fine to want that, but I think it should never come at the cost of your own authenticity. What would you say for somebody then that is perhaps starting on this process, or they're new to this process, and they have that fear about, you know, what are friends and family going to think of me as I start on this new path, and who the person I'm stepping into?
Yeah, I think you just always have to remind yourself what feels better, you know, because this is how we manifest, choosing the best feeling thought that you have. And if you are feeling any kind of resistance in where you currently are right now, then what's going to feel better to you? Going for it and going after what you truly want to do, and having that little bit of judgment, or not going for it and not having anybody judge you. What's going to ultimately feel better further on down the line? Because I guarantee that when you ask yourself that question, you'll go, oh, actually, no, I can't do this for another year. I can't do this for another 2 years. It has to happen now for me. And when it does, when you do level up in yourself and you take yourself to that next level, there will always be that contrast, that resistance, those challenges, because that comes with it. It's hand in hand with it. And, you know, one of the biggest things that we have to do if we want to up level is hold our hands with that fear, walk with that fear, you know, rather than letting the fear consume us, which is, it can be the easiest option, but later on down the line, you won't feel good. So just asking yourself that question, what actually feels better to me?
Absolutely. And I think as well, like, it's actually just kind of taking a step back and, you know, realizing that not everybody's going to get everything that you do, but nor do you get everything that other people do. Like, you know, like when you think about maybe a friend's choice of career path, or a friend's choice of partner, or what they choose to do in their free time, there's never going to be a time when you absolutely are on board with everybody else and their desires and things. So it's only natural that there's going to be some people that don't get it, but that's not who we're doing this for. We're doing it for the people that do. And once you immerse yourself in this industry, you'll realize that there's so many people that do get it and are cheerleading you.
That's a really good point as well. Remembering, like, if ever, you know, anybody's ever worried about going for it and taking that action, remembering to take it away from you and to think about the other people that you're serving. You know, actually just take it away from you. It's nothing to do with you. It's not about you. It's about people that you're helping. And when that was a huge shift for me, when I started living with that perspective, I was like, oh yeah, it's taken me back to why I'm doing this. This is what is my drive to show up and show off in this new identity, because I am helping this girl in her 20s get from where she is right now to where she wants to be. And then when you take it off yourself and you're not, you know, thinking about you in that moment, it makes it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you're doing essentially is you're lighting the way for others, like by you being true to you and doing you the best that you can. You're giving other people permission that, okay, it's safe to be themselves as well. It's safe to do my own thing, and kind of, you know, even if not everybody gets it, you're kind of giving them that sort of permission to kind of do that as well. So I absolutely love that. We've spoken about, Jessica, we've spoken about the incredible successes you've seen within your business, you know, your launch of your group program, your 30K launch. What are some other manifestations that you've witnessed since, you know, stepping into this world that you perhaps weren't expecting?
Oh, okay, huge one in my acting career. So because whenever I'd post on the Clique Academy group, Facebook group, it would always have some mention of my acting in there, because I am first and foremost an actress, and this is like my dream, and this is me. And I trained in musical theatre. And I, you know, for anybody listening to the podcast that is an actor too, they might be able to relate to this. As a musical theatre artist, we aren't taken quite as seriously in the TV world. And now I've always had this desire to be on TV, you know, to actually go into screen and film. And I took a lot of action myself, but in terms of like getting in front of a casting director and them actually taking me seriously, it was a different matter. And this has been something that I have wanted for so long. And recently it happened for me, but it happened way bigger than I expected. So again, this is like kind of proof in that, you know, your manifestations, it's either going to be the thing that you want, or it's going to manifest to something better, you know, this or something better, the exercise. And so I got a call from my agent to say that I'd landed a gig in an Amazon Prime TV series with James Corden.
Oh my goodness, that's
huge. Yeah. So and that should be coming out next year. But you know, and again, this is the thing with manifestations, it seemingly comes out of the blue. As an actor, I had only had 2 auditions that in the space of about 3 months, 2, which isn't a lot. Usually you're getting a lot of self-tapes come through. And so for me, I was kind of like, thinking, right, I need to, you know, sort my energy out because I want to get more self-tapes come through. Statistically, getting 50% of the auditions that you go for in that time is out of this world ridiculous. And that was like, even my agent said on the phone, he was like, I don't even know what this is for, like what the hell. And I was like, mind blown. But again, it's because this is actually practicing in that letting go period, and that, you know, manifestation gap period, where you just let it go, just stop thinking about it. It's going to inevitably come to you. And I think I've finally clicked into certainty around my acting, because it, you know, I clicked into certainty around money very, very quickly, and that's obvious. But I think when something isn't flowing to you quite as quickly, it is just simply a level of certainty that you're not quite reaching about that thing, and you just have to do more inner work on it. And I did, and I did the inner work for a good year, 2 years, and it finally came to me. So yeah,
you're so right with that certainty thing, because I always look back at like things that I have manifested in my life and things that I haven't, that I've thought that I wanted and that they've not happened for me. And when I look back at those things that haven't happened, I'm like, I wasn't actually certain about those things. So for example, like my family, like we all spent like a lot of time in Mallorca this summer. And we kind of ended up going through this whole process, like trying to buy a house there. And two of the one was a house, one was a plot of land. Both of them fell through. And I look back now and I was like, I wasn't certain on either of those. And even when they fell through, I wasn't like, I was sad, more frustrated, but it was kind of like, I kind of knew at the back of my mind that it wasn't going to happen. And so I think there's so much to be said for that. That knowing, that inner knowing. But yeah, that's such an amazing achievement though with your acting. And I think this is the thing, like when you know this stuff, like it's not just, somebody might want to use it to, like, let's say for example, manifest, I don't know, clients in their business or manifest a new job. But when you know it, you can apply it to any area of your life.
Absolutely. And because another huge area of my life that is just booming right now is my social life. And I know that sounds, it does sound a little bit sad when I say it, but I was quite lonely. Like I had friends around me, and I did always have my close friends, but as well, when I went through my breakup with my ex-boyfriend, I realized that I'd lost quite a few friends too, because it was just a toxic kind of relationship. And also when you go on your spiritual journey, friends do drop off, like this is what happens. But I have manifested some of the closest friendships I ever have done in my life that are staying with me for life, that, are on such a deeper connection, because when you find out who you truly are, you attract the people in that you're supposed to be around. And it was, again, that was a process in my own authenticity and becoming me. And my relationships now are just so secure. It's amazing. Like, it's honestly such an amazing feling. And meeting people like you and meeting other coaches that are on the same journey. One of the most amazing things about your academy was the community, because the energy that you get from that, like, it's fundamental for your journey. You can't do it. Yeah,
absolutely. I think because most people, like, I certainly didn't know any coaches when I started, and I didn't really know any business owners. So you need that support network around you, like, to celebrate the wins, but also to be there when you are having a difficult day. Because let's face it, like, you're going to have days where you start to question everything, which is completely normal. But no, I absolutely love that. So what would you say, actually, for somebody that is just, stepping into this world, perhaps thinking about becoming a coach, very, very new to it? Like, what would be your words of wisdom?
Well, again, I would go back to taking it away from you for a second and thinking about the people you want to serve. Having a very, very strong reason why you're doing it in the first place, making sure that connects back to to something very pure, for me, I knew, because I had my own story and my own journey and my own things that I had overcome or was in a healing process over, that I could help people because I've been there before, and I would probably say, and also for a coach, it really is just that kind of it's a lovely healing process for you as well, just being able to speak your story, because every coach has a story, and you just got to remember that you are going to help. Like, even if it feels like nobody is listening, there is somebody listening, I guarantee you, right? And because it is a saturated market, like, as a business owner, there is a lot of coaches out there. But I know, because I have a feedback form on when people have client calls with me, and in fact, I don't even have discovery calls anymore, because now people just know that they want to work with me. But in that feedback form, it says, why were you drawn to me as a coach? And I think it's a really important question so that you can learn. And every single time, energy, which is why it's something that, you know, I place a great deal of importance on when I'm coaching myself. But it's true. If you are in alignment with yourself and your energy is pure, people are attracted to you, because there's a hell of a lot of manifestation coaches out there. Hell, there's like freaking big time manifestation coaches out there. Yet my clients choose to work with me because it's me, and because they trust me, and because it's my energy. And everybody has that. Everybody has that opportunity. Everybody has, there is an abundance of it out there for you because you're you.
Exactly. I love that. And I think that is, such a valuable sort of point for women that are new to this process, because I know I definitely felt it, that feeling of, well, I know what I want to do as a coach. Like I knew who kind of had an idea of who I wanted to help, but I would see these other women who were already doing it very successfully, had huge audiences, been coaching for years, like just absolutely, you know, great at what they did. And I thought, well, why would anybody want to work with me if there's that person that they could go and work with? And you're absolutely right. Like the feedback that I always got was like, oh, I was just drawn to your energy, or there was something about you that I just resonated with. And, you know, you heard your story and I could really connect with that. And so that's why, you know, like just you being you, like that is the ingredient to you being successful, is just, you know, you sharing that energy and just trusting that the people that are meant for you will find their way to you.
100%. And actually, just to follow off from that, the people that maybe for coaches that have started their journey and that are trying to gain those clients, or, you know, hoping to manifest those clients, and notice that maybe some clients say no. The other thing you've got to understand is that there is a coach for everybody. And if these clients are saying no, then you don't want to work with them either, to an extent. Something there that, you know, going back to when I said, you know, be picky about who you work with, because you've got to know that this person trusts you. You can't be in a coaching relationship with someone who is kind of like, I think I should invest, but I don't really trust you as a coach. Why would you want to work with someone like that, right? So, you know, you will feel it when you have a call with someone. You'll know this person, like, they might be a bit scared of the investment, but they want to work with me. And they trust me, and that's all that matters. And the people that don't, that's fine. They need to go work with somebody different.
Absolutely. And it comes back to this idea of it's this or something better. Like, so if something doesn't work out for you, you've got to just trust that the universe has got a bigger plan for you. And what if next week you got this sort of windfall of amazing clients just seeing me show up at your door, and you're like, whoa, this is incredible. So I think it's just kind of being in that sort of trust process as well. But no, I've absolutely loved chatting with you today, Jessica. And honestly, like, it's just been such a privilege to just see everything that you've been able to achieve. And one thing I did want to ask is, what's next for you? Because you're obviously running your academy, which is your group program. What else do you have sort of in the pipeline for your business?
Well, that's a very good question. So I did say to you before we kind of like started this recording, I literally do live my life and my business through my intuition. So intuitively, it's really just what comes up. It's when I get an intuitive hit to launch something. I mean, like, I've done one-off workshops before, which again has come from that deep place of intuition. But I'm not going to do anything for the sake of doing it. And I also do believe that my academy is so strong and has served so many people already, and is just continuing to help my clients see results. I mean, huge results. Like, these are out of work actors, you know, and entrepreneurs. Actually, I coach a lot of one-on-one capacity. I coach a lot of coaches too who want to, you know, get to that next level with this work. And I just know that it works. So there's nothing more that I need to do right now in terms of scaling wise or anything like that. Because I know that this academy serves and is going to continue to serve. I think as well, because I do have that extra side to me as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
There's big things going to happen that side of things too. And the way I work my business is going to be to serve the people who need serving, and to grow simultaneously as an actor and a coach, and making sure that I have the energy to do that. So as I say, the question that I'll ask myself every day is, where do I want to put my energy today? And if it's on scaling the coaching even further, then that's what will happen. But for me right now, I'm so happy with where I am, and I'm so grateful for you. You know, I really am, because again, you know, as we were talking about drawn to energy, I was so drawn to your energy. It was exactly what I needed in that time. And your community was so healing. And it, you know, I've been on a strong healing journey for a while now, and always when I've needed it, exactly the right people have come in, and you were definitely a big factor in that. So that was a kind of Camberley way of answering your question.
Oh, that was honestly, that's so like amazing to hear. And like, honestly, like, I just reiterating what I said earlier, it's just been an absolute privilege to be a part of your journey and to just see everything that you've achieved already. And I'm so excited to see just where things take you and where your intuition guides you to. So yeah, and I love that you work in that way, because at the end of the day, it just keeps things fun and interesting, doesn't it? Rather than having everything mapped out.
Yeah, and also with what's coming up next, I do have my own podcast coming out, which I'm really excited about, because I've actually wanted to do this for a long time. Although I think partly my ego was getting in the way, and partly it was divine timing sort of thing for me, because I have had so much going on. But I'm really excited about this, because this is going to be my platform to get out everything that goes through my mind every day, but also serve people on a deeper level in terms of this work. Because I can talk, like I'm a talker.
Yeah.
Notice, but and so yeah, so for me, that's the next big thing that's coming out, and it's going to be coming out very, very soon.
How exciting! And does it have a name yet, or is that still?
It is quite literally just called the Jessica Paul Podcast.
Love it.
Because,
I love it.
Oh, Danny, like I had this whole like thing of being like, oh no, what should I call it? And everybody's taken all the names, and no. And literally, like for ages, me and my assistant were going back and forth, and I thought, you know what? Let's just call it my name, because that's who it is.
So, I mean, I was exactly the same with this podcast. In the end, I was just like, you know what? Sod it. I'm just going to call it the Clip Podcast.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I was like rattling my brains. I was like, I'm just going to go with, I've got an easy name. I've already got a brand name. Let's just go with that.
Right.
Amazing. Thank you. So we will post Jessica's details and where you can find her into the show notes too, so go make sure you check out her links there. And yeah, thank you again, Jessica.
Thank you so much.
If you are wanting to build your own successful online coaching business, make sure to check out Freedom, Abundance and Impact, our free 10-day business and mindset course for coaches and aspiring coaches. To access, simply head to wearetheclick.com and click free course in the menu.